So what if the most powerful proof for God's existence wasn't hidden in the stars, but it was written in a language tucked inside every single cell of your body? We're going to look at the code that makes you, well, you, and what it tells us about a creator.
You hear this all the time, don't you? It's just stated as a fact, like, hey, modern science with all its amazing discoveries has made believing in God totally obsolete. But has it? Really? Or is it possible it's done the exact opposite?
Let me show you what I mean. Just picture this for a second. You're out for a walk, deep in the woods, and there, lying in the dirt, is a smartphone. You pick it up. You feel that smooth glass, the cool metal, the tiny, perfect camera lens. What's the very first thought that pops into your head? Is it, wow, look what millions of years of random wind and rain managed to create? No way. Of course not.
And this is where it gets really interesting. You look at that phone and you just know it was designed. It screams intelligence, right? But then, we're told that your DNA, a system that contains so much more information than all the apps on that phone put together, we're told that just happened by accident. When you put them side by side like this, it just doesn't add up, does it?
You see, DNA isn't just a bunch of chemicals. It's code. It's a highly sophisticated digital language. It's literally the instruction manual that tells your body how to build everything, from the color of your eyes to the chambers of your heart. It's a software program, and you are the incredible result of that program running.
So just how much information are we really talking about here? Well, get this. Scientists figured out that if you sat down at a keyboard to type out the genetic code from just one strand of your DNA, typing 60 words a minute, 8 hours a day, with no breaks, it would take you 50 years to finish. 50 years! And we're supposed to believe that just wrote itself by chance?
And that leads us to this rock-solid principle. It's something we see everywhere in the world. Without exception, information, especially complex, coded information, always comes from an intelligent source. A message requires a messenger, a program requires a programmer, a code requires a coder.
And think about it. We live this out every single day. You get a text, you know someone sent it. You see your kid's name spelled out with magnets on the fridge. You know they didn't just randomly fall into that pattern. We never ever assume that information just organizes itself. So why on earth would we make an exception for the most complex, most brilliant information system ever discovered, the one inside of us?
Okay, so that's the big question, right? If the evidence from our own biology seems so clear, why do so many in the scientific world push back so hard? To get that, you have to understand that it's not really about the science. It's about the rules of the game they've decided to play by.
Let me tell you a quick story that makes this whole thing click. I want you to imagine a fish. He's a scientist, a really smart one, and he's lived his entire life inside a fishbowl.
Okay, so this scientist fish, he's very serious about his work. He makes one simple rule. I will only accept evidence that comes from inside this bowl. Fair enough. So he studies everything, the gravel, the little plastic pirate castle, the flakes of food that float down, and after all his research, he publishes his groundbreaking paper. His conclusion? There is zero evidence for the existence of water, and absolutely no evidence for a caretaker who provides the food.
You see the problem, right? The fish is completely blind to the two most important realities of his entire existence: the water he's swimming in and the person keeping him alive. And it's not because the evidence isn't there. It's because the rule he made at the very beginning made it impossible for him to even see it. He decided on the conclusion before he even started his research.
And that, right there, is how a lot of modern science operates. It starts with a rule, a fishbowl rule. Only natural, material explanations are allowed. The supernatural's ruled out before the investigation even begins. So then, they look at the entire universe and say, see, no evidence for a creator. Well, of course not. You've rigged the game from the start. Your rules made it impossible to find any.
In this way of thinking, it has huge consequences, way beyond a science lab. When an entire culture decides to reject the ultimate source of all order and truth, what happens to its ability to recognize any kind of truth at all?
Almost 2,000 years ago, a warning was written that honestly sounds like it could have been pulled from today's headlines. It describes what happens when people reject the knowledge of their creator. Their thinking becomes pointless, confused, and while claiming to be the wisest of all, they become fools.
And you can see this happening all around us. It starts with denying the designer of life itself. But it doesn't stop there. Pretty soon you find yourself in a strange place where you're denying the very order of creation. You get this bizarre contradiction where people demand you trust the science, while at the same time they deny the most basic facts of biology. It's the exact progression that ancient texts talked about.
Here's the bottom line.
Real science, the kind that cures diseases, builds bridges, and sends rovers to Mars, that kind of science is only possible for one reason: because the universe is orderly. It follows consistent, discoverable laws of physics and chemistry. In a random, accidental universe, why should we expect any order at all? The very fact that science works is one of the best arguments for a lawgiver who put those laws in place.
So let's end with this. The next time somebody tells you science has disproved God, just remember your own DNA. Remember the fish in the fishbowl. Because true science doesn't point away from God, it points directly to Him. Science isn't the enemy of faith, it is the study of God's fingerprints, and they are all over His creation. The only question is, are we willing to see them?